Welcome to Imagination TV, episode 1571. We're featuring a keynote speaker today on the theme of mentors, not saviors. My name's Kalani Ripley. I go to Miami State High School. I'm in year 12. Now, before I mention what mentors, not saviors means to me, I'm going to quickly give a backstory about myself. I'm a Calcadoon man. I come from Mount Isa. And I am a school captain, I am a leader, and I think that's what AMTV gives a great platform of in the mentoring program is becoming a leader and being able to step up and become a leader makes it truly a great platform for this. And that's not just AMTV, that's the whole of the AIM program. And to be a mentor and not a savior, to me at least, means being a citizen that takes the time to listen and to be there for someone rather than just picking them up at rock bottom. Being a mentor takes somebody to pick them up from rock bottom and take them to the sky rather than just being there for that small part. It's progressing them and showing them through different times in their lives and being there for them throughout all progress, the ups, the downs, the highs, the lows. That's what I personally believe is to be a mentor. And I think it's really something that AIM has done really well. We have a great show for you today. So I'm going to kick over to my co-host, Bobby.
Thanks for that introduction, Kalani. Such a great introduction. Yeah, look, today's show, as you said, we have a keynote speaker today, and I think it's going to be a fantastic show today. Yesterday's show, we had a panel of who we had. We had Belinda Duarte, we had Leandra Gagamongu, and we had Socrates Otto. And, you know, they brought a wealth of knowledge and inspiration to us. And I think that today is going to be no different. So looking forward to the show. In our live audience, we got Malachi. Malachi, say hello, Malachi.
Hey, how's it going?
Good. We got Isaiah.
Hello.
Hello. And we got Ephraim.
Hello.
And we have Lucy.
Hi.
Hi. So hopefully you guys got your listening ears on and you're ready to go. But just quickly, Malachi, Isaiah, Ephraim, who's the most annoying one in the family?
Ephraim. No, that one there. This one here. No, Ephraim, most definitely.
Who's the
youngest?
Who's the bully?
Malachi, the oldest, obviously.
The oldest. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So, how you guys feel about being on Imagination TV today?
Oh, we feel good. Like, yeah, had nothing else to do, so we said, yeah, why not?
Okay, that's carefree attitude. That's great. That's great. So
yeah.
We also want to introduce our other co-host today, Steph Beck.
Thanks, Bobby. How you going, guys? That was a really great introduction on there, Kaylani, and I like the reference that you made to mentors being able to pick you up and take you to the sky, because it's you guys as the mentees that do all the hard work. We can only walk beside you. So yeah, great to see you back and leading and getting stronger every day. Just want to throw it over to Lucy and get her to say hello and introduce herself to the audience as well. Thanks for joining us, Lucy.
Hi, thank you. My name's Lucy Brown and I'm 15 in year 10. I live in the sunny coast, but I am Wiradjuri.
Excellent. Well, as we go through today and we listen to some of the knowledge that Aunty Denise has for us, if you have any questions, jot them down and we'll swing back to you throughout the show. Back over to you, Kaylani and Bobby.
Okay, so look, today, as we said, we have Aunty Denise Proud with us today. She's recently been acknowledged as a research senior fellow of the University of Queensland and is internationally known. So presenter, educator, author, and artist. She's a proud Aboriginal woman, born and raised on Cherbourg. So I'm probably telling all her stuff that she wanted to tell us. So I'll just sit back and have my listening ears on. And Aunty Denise, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thanks very much for this. Firstly, I'd like to pay my respects to the traditional owners on the lands that we meet today, just to remember our ancestors who walked before us, and to all of our ancestors. You wouldn't be here today without them, paving the way, mentoring your families and supporting our people through this. So I know I certainly wouldn't be here without the support of my family and my ancestors. Am I coming through all right? Am I coming through there all right? Can you all hear me?
We can hear you just fine, Aunty Denise.
Okay.
Hear you just fine.
I just wanted to pay my respects also to the Waka Waka people. That's the area that I was born. I was born on Cherbourg, Waka Waka. I have ties to Kukaibarangi, which is my grandfather's country, Kawa, Winton area, which is my grandmother's area, and my mother, Gungari, Kamilaroi, who she was taken from those lands. So I just want to acknowledge my ancestors and my family that were taken from so many different areas. That's the stolen generation. So my background is I grew up on Cherbourg, of course, under the Acts, and I think you might know about the Acts that Aboriginal people lived under. I'm the youngest of 10, so of course my older brothers and sisters paved the way for me to be where I am today. My father was like in the old days called the Native Police, and my grandfather and my great-grandfather. So they were lawmen, and my older brothers have all worked in that area. And so my background is early childhood. I worked in the early childhood area. I started the first kindergarten in Cherbourg when I was 16 years of age. And I stayed there for a couple of years and then went on. I worked in Yarrabah. We started the first mobile kindergartens in Brisbane, working with Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander children. And so my background is early childhood. And I thought if you want to make a difference, we've got to support our young people, like you young people there. You're our future leaders. You're the ones who are going to make a difference in this world. And you're the ones who are going to carry on the knowledge, you know, to a lot of different people. And you're the ones who are going to make that, you're going to bridge those gaps between, you know, what's happening in the world today with stepping foot in the white world and stepping foot in the black world. Never forget your family, your community, your heritage, and feel proud of who you are. Never let anybody take that from you. And I know you're very strong young people, and I'm very proud to be here today with you. I worked in, just to give you a little bit more of background, I worked in early childhood for a long, long time. I became I worked in the early, I started the kindy in Cherbourg. A lot of our people didn't know what even kindergarten was in that time when I started. So that was in the 60s, early 60s. And, but I thought children, like I said, children can make that difference. And I grew up under the Act. That means I couldn't do the same as a white student. So even though my mother worked, she sewed for the community. She made uniforms for children at school. She worked very hard. And you're also raised by your brothers and sisters, eh? That's our Aboriginal way and the Torres Strait Islander way. Community and family is the most important, and how we can help each other and support each other. And Mum and Dad were very, very strong, community-minded people. My grandfather and granny were the same. We lived for community. And one thing my mum said to me when I stepped foot out of Cherbourg to do my training down in Brisbane, she said, never forget who you are, your heritage, your culture. That is the most important thing in your life. People can take things from you, but you never lose your dignity and your self-worth. You're as important as the next person who's walking with you. And you have to learn to walk in the white world and the black world. And you're going to have to juggle that, my darling. I don't know if I can put this picture up, but this is a picture of me. Can you see that?
Yes.
That's my mum, Olga, and that's me when I was 3. And I'm looking at the floodwaters. And she was a very, very proud woman. Even though she was taken away from her family, she taught me to be strong within myself. So I've always juggled that white world. You've got to learn about the white fella to live in the white world. You've got to learn about the black world too. And I juggled that all my life. I worked in early childhood for a long, long time. Then I had the opportunity, my husband's an engineer, he's a mechanical engineer. He was sent over to the States. So he started an office in Denver, Colorado. So we were selling some technology to the Americans, and that was great. We were there for 7 years. My daughter Monique, who worked for AIM, she was born in Denver. And when I came back from Denver, I worked as a TAFE teacher, so empowering the people that were on welfare. But also while I was in the States, I worked for the United Way, one of the big charities in America, in the States. And I worked with Vietnam veterans. I would take them to the hospital. I worked with the elderly. I worked at George Washington Carver kindergarten or preschool area. I volunteered. I did a lot of volunteering in the States because I couldn't work because I didn't have a particular card, but my husband, while I was there, I still did a lot of work in community. And then I also got to know the African American community. I got into the Black women's community over there, and they're my dear friends to this day. So I learned a hell of a lot from what the African Americans had been through. I worked with the Navajos over there. I worked with people on welfare in Denver. And then when I came back, I went in, like I said, I went into the TAFE system. And then I was approached to go and work inside Bogoro jail. So to work with our men inside jail to talk about life skills, domestic violence, we would talk about all kinds of issues. We started up painting programs, literacy, numeracy programs, and I worked inside the jails. I also worked at the youth detention centres, so Sir Leslie Wilson and also John Oxley at that time with our youth. I volunteered at first and then it became a paid position. So empowering our young people to feel good about who they were. Because when I was growing up, like I said, I couldn't even do the same subjects as a white student. I always wanted to do science. I love science. And I thought, oh, that's what I want to do. And I wasn't allowed to. One, because I was Aboriginal, and one, because I was an Aboriginal, a woman. And then, so when I was approached to go and work inside Bogger Road with the men inside jail, they gave me a hard time. I tell you, at first, they gave me a hard time as a woman. But I walked in there and I said, guys, no, you're not going to stop me from being here. So to this day, I did nearly 20 years inside jails. I volunteered my time also with the women inside jails. We started up our self-esteem type programs, the self-worth programs about just being proud of your culture, your heritage. We did a lot on culture, how to know our laws, similar to the whitefella law, but putting it up on a board and putting blackfella law and whitefella law and looking at it. And we've got to learn to not step in someone else's territory if we're not invited. That's why we do our acknowledgement to country. That's why we're welcomed into country. We've got to be welcomed in by people. And I worked at Arthur Gorrie Correctional Centre, Sir David Longlands. I started the first cultural centre ever in a maximum security prison, which was Arthur Gorrie Correctional Centre. And this was I'll read it to you. This is what we used to say. The men would come in. I trained some prisoners up to be mentors, to support other young fellas coming in. And they learned a lot about their culture. And if it was men's business, I would leave the room and the men would take over. But I used to say this to them, and sometimes having 50 men in a room standing and saying this particular affirmation. We do it every morning, and I'll read it to you. I am a proud warrior. I am proud of my culture. I will always be proud of my heritage, my spiritual beliefs, my song, my dance, and I will walk with my ancestors today and forever. So every morning when the men would come in, we would stand, we would be proud of who we are, and we would say this. And I went back into jails just recently, and one of the young fellow, well, I've known him a long time. I shouldn't, but he had a tattoo on it. He said, Aunt, I love it so much, and I feel proud of who I am. He had it tattooed on his arm when he came out, and he'd gone back in again. But you young people there have got so much to give. And we need to learn from you as young people too. And you can teach me, you can teach all of us how to keep, and we've got to share our knowledge. As older people, we must pass on knowledge to you so that you're not, and we're there for you whenever you need us. My father would take the shirt off his back and give it to someone. My brothers still do it to this day. They go into the parks. I remember my brother coming back and saying, he had these old thongs on. I said, yeah, Charlie, my older brother Charlie, he said, oh, I gave those shoes, I said, where's your new shoes I give you? He said, I just give it to my old mate there. And so when I came back from the States with my daughter, Monique, my sister-in-law picked me up from the airport and took me, and she said, Aunt, Denise, where do you want to go first? And I said, the first thing I ought to do is go straight to the park. My people will hold my baby before anybody else. And my parents did that with us. So every time I came down from the settlement and we'd come into Brisbane, Dad and Mum would take me. We would sit with all the old people, all his old mates, Mum's mates, her friends, and sit in the park and share and laugh and talk. And we need to be going out into community more too. And that's why it was lovely to meet these younger ones there that are supporting their elders, and us elders supporting our young people. But I truly want to say that, look, I'm so proud of you fellas doing your education, but don't ever forget your community, your background, your family, because some people too, they get in positions of power where they forget about who put them there. I never, ever forget who taught me my stuff. And I also recognize those prisoners that supported me and helped me. And some of them have gone on and got their law degrees. They've gone on. I had a guy from Melbourne call me, Aunt, I just want to say, I'm now a chef. He works in Melbourne. He's got 2 children, married, and they still keep in touch with me. So, you know, get that education, and also you can talk the talk, you can walk the walk, and you can share about our country, our elders, and be proud. Don't ever forget who you are and where you're from. But there is always community who will support you. Do some voluntary work too, help in community, whatever you can do. Smile at a person when they're in the street. My mother taught me this. She said, darling, before you judge anybody, you must walk in their shoes. And the word for it is Dan Nudgin Barriganan Gunnan. Dan Nudgin Barriganan Gunnan. And every time I say that to my daughter, there's not an English word for it. It's not empathy. It's about feeling. When you see somebody in the street and they've got nothing, reach out a hand, go and buy them a meal, share your sandwich with them. And I have a friend to this day from school. He always comes up to me and says, "Here, where's my sandwich?" Because I would always make a sandwich at home, and half was for him at school. And to this day, he still sees me. "Where's my sandwich, sis? Where's my sandwich?" So we got to think of someone all the time. Try not to judge people. When I work with prisoners, I always thought there's always good in somebody. Some people look at the negatives in somebody. And all of you in AIM, what you do is you look at the good in someone. We need to see good. So it's like, I think of a flashlight. You can put light on, but I don't think it'll ever be invented where we can turn a flashlight on where there's darkness. And I think we just have to support each other. I think too many of us, we put someone down when they're starting to achieve. That's why I'm proud of you young people there, still in school. Get that education and be proud when you walk and you've done your grade 11 or grade 12. Pat yourselves on the back. And don't ever let anybody take that from you. Your dignity, who you are, your family, and what you have learned from your elders and your community. But also help in community. That is crucial. There's always somebody even in your street, that is hurting, who might need a meal. They may not be able to pay their bill. You might be able to help in some way, shape or form. And as far as I'm concerned, community is vital for me. That's what helped me. And I don't care how high you get in your jobs, never forget, we all started with nothing. And be grateful for what you have, but also learn and listen and sit with your old people. And even you fellas there, that with all this knowledge you have, sharing your skills with other people. I think, look, I probably go on a bit too much, but thank you.
No, that's a really great point. A great point, Aunty Denise. So thanks for that little wrap up of your life achievement so far. I think there's so much more that we could dive into in the different areas that you've worked across. And I think I'd like to just start with when you were 16 and opening up like the first kindy in Cherbourg, that must have taken some real self-belief in yourself. Did you have mentors that played a role in that? And where did you find them? Were they?
Yeah, my mentors, lucky, her name was Peggy Banff. She was the head of Creation Kindergarten in Brisbane. She had a belief in me that I can achieve something. And in those times, I was one of the first ones to ever go and do some training and come back. So of course, I got put down sometimes by my own people, but lucky my family, my community supported me, so they were my mentors. And people who really, so Peggy stayed with me for 3 weeks and then left me. And there I was running a preschool and I had to do whatever I could. And she stayed in touch with me, just even making sure that you're listening to, I knew she was there to listen to me. And my mum, always a strong, strong, proud woman. And I had a strong father too, that, you know, they were there when I was being put down. They came back and they were there for me and my family, my sisters and brothers, very, very strong people. And I'm so grateful. And those young fellas today, I've worked with them all the way through, and the women. So now their children come up and say, Auntie, we want to do early childhood or, you know, something like that. And I say, go for it. So I try and help and support them in that field if they want to do, yeah. But it's good if you've got somebody who listens to you too when you're down, when you're happy, when you're sad, and just to be that person to listen to you and support you no matter what. Yeah.
That's very, it's so true to have somebody just to sit there and listen and have a conversation with you. And I think that's something that we're lacking so much of today. And being able to just sit back and I picked up on something you said during the keynote was just smile at someone in the street. It's so small, but it never happens. It's something that I better take away from this, because, you know, we're so focused on one task and one thing that you've got to go do that, and you're just thinking about that, but you don't think about the people that are around you. You know, whether they're Indigenous or they're not, or they're old, young. There's people, so many different stories that we have, and if you go and you just go and give them a smile and ask how their day was, it's something that can change somebody's day. And I have a question from the chat line, and that was, what do you believe, and what's some advice to make somebody a mentor and not a savior?
Yeah, well, growing up on the settlement, I resented people when I've got strong, proud parents, I don't really want to be saved. Sorry. I want people to walk the walk with me. I don't want people telling me what's good for me or what's better for me. I want them to listen to some of my ideas, and maybe we can collaborate and put that into something together. I am tired of growing up on a settlement where you're told where to walk, who you'll marry, what sort of job you'll get. No, and the one thing I had with me, and I think my parents were great mentors, saying you're just as good as anybody else. The laws were different for me. You kids are so lucky, you young people are so lucky now, but your old people, they walked the walk and they weren't recognized for what they did. That's why you're able to go to university. I wanted to go to university, couldn't, but I had to do it as a mature age student later. So I'm, always remember the old people that fought, in those early days. And I don't want people saving me. I'd rather someone, like I said, walk the walk, listen, we talk together, it's on an equal footing. You don't judge me, I don't judge you. We got to learn to, some people come in when they get their degrees and they think they can lord it over everybody. I don't care if you've got 6 degrees. No, we're on the same level. You're on the same level as me. Just because I'm older does not mean that I'm bigger or better than you. And I think sometimes some corporates need to understand that. That's why the first people who held my baby in Australia were the people in the park. And they held her. I said, I'm bringing her back here to Musgrave Park. That's what I did with my daughter. Sorry, darling.
Don't be sorry. Don't be sorry at all, Aunty Denise. Powerful knowledge, wisdom, insight. I'm sure, everyone here is proud to have heard you speak today. So, thank you very much. Much appreciated.
Thank you. Thanks.
Yeah. So we're going to cross over to our live audience. Lucy, so you got any questions for Aunty Denise? Like after hearing those wonderful words?
So many. I do. How did you keep yourself together when you were going through such a hard time way back when it was so unfamiliar?
It was very hard, but I think you've got to have someone, even if they're outside your family, someone you can go and talk to. I'm lucky I've got a lot of good friends and family that are there. I've got older brothers and sisters. Like I can call them. My daughter was raised, we say we're raised by a community. And we can call those people 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning if we have to. And that's how I am. So I say to my friends, if you're going to be my friend, I would like you to walk the walk with me, but it's going to be hard at times. And you see how many people who stick by you. And when I first started the kindy, I got spat on. I got treated like dirt because I was trying to, but I never gave up. And I'll tell you this story. One of the women who spat on me when I first went back to start the kindy, she saw me 10 years later with her granddaughter and said, I wanted to be like you now because you never gave up. When things get tough, we got to reach out to other people, but never give up. Believe in yourself. You've got a lot of belief in yourself, but don't put yourself above everybody either. You got to humble yourself at times. You got to listen. And sometimes we don't listen enough to other people who are trying to give us some direction or ideas. Yeah, I've made mistakes in my life, but I've certainly learned from it. And those prisoners, they taught me a hell of a lot. How did I survive in jails for nearly 20 years? I didn't learn that on my own. The prisoners taught me that. They taught me. And I trained officers, but they taught me. And they also went on a hunger strike to keep me in. So you know, but I didn't care what they did. When they walked into a classroom, I don't care what they did. I accepted them for who they are. And that's, have belief in people. Like I said, see the light in somebody, see the good in someone, and also see the good in yourself. Look at your strengths, look at your weaknesses. Believe in self. When things are tough, also reach out to other people too, okay? I don't know if that helps, darling, but you know, you're doing really well too with what you're doing, and we need to be supporting you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I really appreciate that. It's so great to learn more about what our elders went through when there was so much white privilege.
Oh, yes.
And yeah, it's just fantastic to know that you're doing so amazingly now. There's so much success. You can have so much success in even like in such an unfamiliar culture to so many people.
And you got to stand up for, I fought a lot of my fights on cultural ground. You need to have a grounding in culture to be able to stand up, and I fight my battles on cultural grounds. And I say that all the time. If you don't know your culture, or, you know, you need to go and learn that. Go to the people and say, I need some help with this. But when those prisoners walked into the room, it's done on cultural grounds first. And I don't care what background they were from, they had to learn Aboriginal ways and Torres Strait Islander ways first before doing their reading and writing. So hopefully corporates and people like that, even our Prime Minister, should learn a bit more about our cultural ways, and to understand also that we're Australians. We're not in the too hard basket. We're all Australians here. But people need to also recognise the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander ways. And that's when we might start walking together a bit more. Sorry, darling, I go on a bit too much.
Nah, you're fine, Auntie Denise. You're fine. I like to thank Malachi, Isaiah, and Ephraim for showing such patience today.
Yeah,
We're gonna come to you guys now.
Yeah.
So, Ephraim, let's start with you, Ephraim. What does being a mentor and not a savior mean to you?
I actually don't know that one, really. It's actually hard. Like, what does not being a mentor? I want to say to you.
So being a mentor, what is being a mentor? What does that mean?
Like a preacher, basically. No, it's not. Like teaching, like, wouldn't it be like mentoring someone? Like teaching? Yeah,
Malachi, let him talk, Malachi. Let him talk, man.
Talk. Like teaching about like your culture, like mentoring your culture to them.
Yeah. And so, what does a savior do?
Save you?
Yeah. And so,
I didn't know that one.
Nah, that's good. Let's stay with it. You got this, Ephraim. So, do you want people to try to save you, or do you want them just to say, hey, if you try this, this might work for you. You might have to go see and work it out. What would you prefer? Or would you prefer somebody do it for you?
No.
No? All right, so we're gonna move on to Isaiah. What about you, buddy?
I don't know.
So you don't know what being a mentor and not a savior means? You don't know what that means to you?
No, I don't really.
Not really? Okay, so how about this? Malachi, do you have a question for Aunty Denise?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What piece of advice would you give to like young Indigenous youth?
Sorry, Malachi, can you say that again, darling?
What piece of advice would you give to young Indigenous youth?
Well, just be strong within yourself. Yep. And like I said, reach out also, make sure, as we go through life, sometimes things get tough. and we don't know where to go. But
Yeah.
even if it's someone in your family or someone outside, AIM is probably helping you a lot there. But always have somebody that you can just call on. And you know what?
Yeah.
They've got to be for you. They've got to be there for you 24 hours of the day, not from 9 to 5, you know. And I tell all my friends, I've got a daughter, you know, she can call them 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning if she needs to, if she's not coping with something, or she needs just someone to help her. And that's what we've got to be there for you too. Make sure you have somebody in your community, and I'm sure you do, darling. Make sure you have somebody that is there for you. But don't give your gammon sort of stuff. You know, you don't want people being there if they're not fully giving you 100%. You know, don't worry. You just say, you know, I'd like you to be there for me. And it's, yeah, I just think you just got to have somebody there all the time with you, darling. So, and as we go through life, it could be different people. So make sure you make good friends and have good support around you. Okay? And do your education, which I'm very proud you're doing. Get your education so you fellas then can stand up. Like, I never thought I'd be able to go and speak in an international forum. Growing up on the mission, we hardly had any food. I grew up on rations. But there I was, living in the States, and now I travel the world. I've spent time with the Kalahari people. I've been with the Navajos. It's wonderful. We learn too from other people. We learn from other people. Okay? Sorry, darling, I go on a bit too much. Thank you for your question anyhow, and good luck with your study.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
All good.
Thank you so much for coming on, Auntie. Your insight and the way you, as much as you think you waffle on, it's very concise and it's very consolidated. And it's something that every time I listen to another piece of something you say over the past 30 minutes, it's something that's really new, and it's something that, you know, we know we should do, but we just don't hear. We don't hear it in words. So thank you so much for coming on to AIM. I really appreciate it, and thank you to all of you guys out in the audience for coming on. Lucy, Malachi, Ephraim, Isaiah, thank you guys so much for coming on. I really appreciate it. And Auntie, thank you so much. It has really been a pleasure to have you on, and I really hope that we get to see you on here again.
Thank you so much. Thank you. All the best, eh? All the best.
You too, Auntie. Thank you so much.
Okay,
and
bye.
to everyone in the chat line, Brendan, Vanessa, Parole, Katarina, Penny, everyone in the chat line coming in and watching us live. Thank you guys so much for coming out, and we're so happy to have you here. Thank you guys for tuning into AIM TV. Thank you, Auntie. Thank you, everyone, to our live audience. Peace.